Before you start any business or any endeavors, you have to ask the basic questions. Today, we're gonna go over 3 basic questions that you need to ask before purchasing your commercial real estate property. The first question is knowing the jurisdiction and the compliance that you have to obtain in order to get your project approved. You have to know if your project falls in the city jurisdiction or the county jurisdiction. Each one of these cities and counties is going to have their own process, so knowing if it falls in the city of Houston, city of Katy, or if it falls in the county jurisdiction, which is going to have a complete different process, so knowing if it falls in Harris County, Fort Bend County, or any other counties. Why that's important? Because your project approval process depends on this. If you have a project that falls in a certain city or a certain county, they have only a certain amount of projects that they approve. For example, I had a client that wanted to build a truck stop with a multifamily in the 2nd level. I made the drawings, invested in the property, got a great deal on the property, but what happened is when we submitted this to the city rejected it, and it had to go through a variance process to get the project approved. How do you find the jurisdiction? You have to contact your city and county. That's one way. The second way is online. They have city, county jurisdiction maps. You can go on there and see where it falls under. Other area that you have to make sure that you get information on is knowing if the utilities are managed by MUD, and also if your property is in a freeway or any FM roads, TxDOT will be required and you will have to comply by TxDOT. Second question that you need to ask is knowing the size and boundaries of your property. It is crucial to know the dimensions of your property, and these are the reasons why. Knowing the size of the property is very, very important to determine if the proposed use is suitable for your property. For example, property A, you get a very good price for, and property B is a little bit more expensive. This may not be the best property for your proposed use because of how narrow it is, and it may be better to pay a little bit more price for this property because needing more frontage for the type of business that you are looking to build or propose, or for shopping centers, these type of properties are ideal because you have more frontage. So second reason you need to know the size and boundaries of your property is knowing the easements of your property. The easements are very important because you may have an easement that's running through the area that you're looking to propose your building structure, and this may be detrimental to your project. So that's why this is very important, and the easements could be where they only allow concrete paving or they only allow landscaping, and this will negatively affect the site plan. Knowing the entry and exits of your property. TxDOT may only approve 1 driveway instead of 2, and for your proposed use, this may not be suitable for the property you're purchasing. How you can find out this information, number 1 is referring back to question number 1 is contacting TxDOT, and then the second way to find out is an updated boundary and getting an updated topo survey. That's another way that you can find out these questions. Third question you need to ask that is very important is knowing the soil capacity of your property. Why that is important is knowing the bearing capacity of the existing soil. It may be very costly for you to get the soil removed and get the foundation cost may increase, so knowing the bearing capacity of existing soil is very important. Knowing the flood zone, if it falls in the 100-year flood zone, this can be detrimental to your project or you may not be able to get built. So knowing if your property falls in the flood zone is very important, and knowing the cost associated with that prior to you purchasing your property is very important. Knowing if your property is contaminated is very important, and the way you can do that is through environmental studies. And knowing if your property is in wetlands is very important because your proposed use of your structure may not get approved if your property falls in the wetlands. 3 ways to get this information is updated soil test report. Now it is very important before you do a soil test report is to get a preliminary site plan. Our team at Max Designers can assist you with that. Why that's important? Because your proposed structure is the area that you need to get a soil test on, and knowing the paving areas and knowing the proposed structure, and those areas are the areas that they're gonna have to come and stake and get soil extracted from those areas. Getting the environmental studies done. Environmental studies, you have environmental phase 1 and environmental phase 2. So you have to get both of those studies done to determine if your property is contaminated. In order to determine if your property falls in the flood zone, is you can go online and there's jurisdiction maps. If your property falls in the 100-year flood zone jurisdiction, you can easily obtain this information online. In part 2 of our video series, we're going to go over 4 additional questions that need to be asked before purchasing your next commercial real estate property. So stay tuned, guys.